What's up guys, real quick, this video is sponsored by CS Money and they're actually giving away 10 knives, so make sure you guys check out the link below to enter. All you have to do is do a trade on their site of at least $1 and enter your Steam URL and they're going to give away 10 pretty badass knives, so make sure you check that out. And in case you don't know what CS Money is, they are a safe and reliable trading site where you can exchange your skins for more profitable ones. Speaking of knives, as you can see from the title, I'm going to go over trading of knives. I think this is something that a lot of people overlook when talking about trading because, you know, they think knives are pretty straightforward, they're expensive and they're easy to trade, but they're kind of complex and they're not always the easiest things to hold on to, especially when you're trying to have super liquid items that you can just funnel through and get profit over and over and over. Some knives you will get stuck on, so I'm going to try to help you guys out of how to decipher those and find out which ones are going to be best for you to trade. Starting off with those entry-level knives, guys. I know a lot of you want to get into trading and you say, hey, maybe I can just invest, $40 or whatever and get this really ugly gut knife, Boreal Forest, battle scarred or field tested. I would say just stay away from any of those low tier knives. If you're talking about getting a gut knife or a flip knife or even like shadow daggers, which I would consider the 3 lower tier ones, I guess you can say falchion knife falls in this category. I would say only stay with their vanilla or their quote unquote higher tier ones, such as a factory new slaughter, a factory new lore, Doppler. Stuff like that is going to be a lot more liquid as people like those and they're the better looking versions of those knives. Whereas if you're trying to start out with a Brightwater battle scarred or, a forest or stained, no one's really going to want those and they might be trade bait. You can use them on those trade sites, but if you're trying to really trade with real people, those aren't going to be the ones you want to go with. You can get away with these a bit better with the Bayonet, M9, Karambit, but still I would stay away with it. My first knife that I ever invested in was a Bayonet Boreal Forest field tested stat track, and I will tell you guys in just a bit how bad stat track is to go with as well. That thing was a bitch to get rid of and I had it for forever, so make sure you guys avoid making that same mistake as me. I would say stay away from case hardened too until you really know the patterns, especially with those lower tier, because people will find a blue gem gut knife and think it's worth tons, but really there's only a high enough ceiling that gut knives can go to profit wise, and people will often overestimate that. So now when it comes to stat track, like I was saying, you might think, oh, stat track is higher tier, it's a lot better to go with, but that's not always the case. With knives, they're scratched in, and in some skins you really cannot see it. Like with my Boreal Forest field tested Bayonet stat track that I had, you cannot see the stat track because it was right where the skin was getting scratched away, and that's because it was just a really shitty knife to start with. And even with the higher tier knives, people will see, oh, you have a stat track M9 lore, which is what I used to have. That thing was actually a bitch to trade because there's so few of them, especially at that lower float range, that it was almost like the same price on certain trade sites as a normal, which was really frustrating. So when you guys get into trading knives, don't automatically think that stat track is better. I would say really only stick to stat track if you're trying to find a end game knife, meaning something that you don't find yourself trading for a long time, if ever, unless you're like quitting the game or something. That's what I thought I had with my M9 lore, but unfortunately I just didn't have the money at the time, so I did have to cash it out. But I would say that is probably the one knife, or a stat track Karambit Fade. Something like those knives are things that I would keep forever because they're just so badass. But if you're trying to really go through liquid items and trade, stay away from stat track, guys. I would say the best in the market right now for knives in terms of median prices that have always been the same, stick with vanilla. I will say this countless times to everyone asking me what should I start trading with. Vanilla knives have always been the GOAT because their prices are pretty stable and a lot of people like them, and even if they don't, they have really consistent prices across all trading sites and betting sites, so you can bet that people are going to value your item about the same as you. If you're getting into pattern skins, be ready for people to be ignorant and not really know the price. That just comes with the territory. And yeah, guys, make sure you're just making conscious trades. Even if you like a skin, check the value of it on different sites beforehand, and if it's way volatile, some sites have it super expensive, some sites have it super cheap, I'd say stay away from those because you want the ones that are consistent, because people are going to be checking that when you're trading with them. Check what they're going to check before you even get the knife to make sure that it's something that's going to be consistent, so that people aren't telling you some whack prices and you end up losing money from getting impatient and just selling it for a low price. So yeah, that about does it for my tips with trading knives. Again, this is a bit of a higher tier because they are higher prices, but a lot of these are very important to check if you're trying to realistically make money in trading, which is without a doubt harder nowadays with more people in it. Thanks for watching.
2 + 2 is 4, -1, that's 3 quick maths. Everyday man's on the block, smoke trees. See your girl in the park, that girl is a uckers. When the king went quack, 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 you man were ducking.